Okay.
And she called me the busiest time of the year during Christmas, and I have 6 kids. And I wasn't going to do it. And she didn't call me, she emailed me. But then I thought, well, she had actually traveled to Tehachapi to teach a class for me, so that sort of guilt-tripped me a little bit. And I'm here. And my husband and I were talking last night, we have learned so much about preparing wheat into something other than bread. You know, we're really glad that we had this opportunity as a family to learn how to prepare a very big part of our home storage. And I'm excited about some of the things I'm going to share with you when it comes to time to cook. But before we get to time to cook, Sister Kent has asked me to go through an outline of things, and she gave me some PowerPoints, and I doctored some of them up and added some to my liking. And we're going to start off with these first 2 quotes. One cannot think well, live well, love well, until one has dined well. And then Brigham Young says, the time will come that gold will hold no comparison in value to a bushel of wheat. And my husband made that bounce like that. He's a genius. So how many of you guys have wheat in your storage? Okay. And how many of you came to Debbie's last You Can't Feed Wheat class? Just curious. Okay, so you already know a lot of the wonderful nutritional health properties that wheat has. A diet high in whole wheat significantly reduces blood pressure, promotes healthy heart function, as in you're 1/3 less likely to suffer heart failure, strengthens your immune system, reduces risks of diabetes, significantly reduces risks of developing colon cancers. One is more physically fit and weighs less than those who do not eat whole grains like wheat in their diet. It prevents gallstones. It decreases the incidence of childhood asthma. And due to its low glycemic index, consumption of whole wheat maintains healthy blood sugar levels and prevents the severe drops and spikes associated with eating refined foods. The reason being is that whole grains take longer to digest, allowing them to enter the system more slowly than the refined counterparts. So it's a good thing that we have wheat as part of our long-term storage because it stores really well, especially the hard wheats. They can store up to 30 years or more. And here is a kernel of wheat, and it has 3 different parts. And you'll listen, we come back a little bit later, and so we have to know about bran. Don't have my mouse here, but brown is the outer layer.
Oh, you have a pointer on there. The upper
What?
right up. See
have
where
a
the
red
thumb
light.
is? That little teeny tiny silver dot in the upper right corner?
Yeah.
That is a laser thing.
Oh.
Is it working? There you
Okay.
go.
So bran, the outer covering, high in vitamins, minerals, and protein. Endosperm, that's the inner part. That's what our flours are mainly made out of, the white flours that we get in stores. But the vitamins and minerals are just very little in this part. Germ, high in B and vitamin E. It also has protein, fat, and mineral phosphates, which are good for your brains and nervous system. And so now, you can't beat wheat in nutrition. In a comparison of wheat with 10 other major staple foods, wheat was superior to all the others in 10 of the 30 nutrient components. Plus it was in the top 3 for many of the other components being compared. And I wanted to just pass this around because this made me excited. Because later on, God told us wheat is for man, and there's a reason. And like here's the column where we have wheat, and each time you see a pink dot, it was number 1 in that category for nutrition, or number 2. So I'm just going to pass this around because according to the USDA and the Lord, wheat is superior in nutrition. So this is slide 5. So wheat has a lot of nutritional necessities, like we need calories, we need fat to make our brains work, we need protein to build our bodies, carbs for energy, fiber to keep our digestive system moving, and amino acids that make, that help our body build itself. You can't beat wheat in nutrition. And here are the vitamins. It has some of them. These two happen the most when it's sprouted. I don't think there's that much vitamin C at all until you sprout it. And then I think E was in the wheat germ, but you get a lot more when it's sprouted. Whenever I've underlined it, it's because it was number one in that. And there's 10 areas and it's number one in. You can't beat wheat for nutrition, and that's just telling you that when you lack fruits and vegetables, you can still get your vitamin A and C in by having wheat when it's sprouted. For maximum nutrition and optimum health, whole wheat is best. For your information, commercial white bread does not have the health benefits of whole wheat because it is not made from whole wheat. White bread is made from white flour. What is white flour? Flour that's made from wheat that has been stripped of its bran, so there's no bran on it, with all those vitamins and minerals it used to have, and it's often bleached. When they strip it, they remove all 22 vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And then I put bleached up here because we're trying to cut back on chemicals, most of us. And while bleaching does help preserve it a little bit and gives it that white bright color, it may not be good for our bodies. Enriched, after they've taken out all the amino acids and vitamins and minerals, they add 4 of them back: iron, thiamine, niacin, and riboflavin. But that's just part of everything we could have got if we'd eaten whole wheat. You can't beat wheat to keep you regular. It has more fiber than other staples, and it promotes a healthy digestive tract. You can't beat wheat in versatility. All these things we can make using wheat and more. And she gave me a list, and I didn't want to put them all, but I ended up adding some back, like the couscous you just so wanted. But anyway, we'll get to that later. You can't beat wheat in affordability. It's inexpensive. These days it's 2 pounds for $1. It's gone up about 50% in the last couple of years, but that's still a deal. 2 pounds of food, of the best food on earth, for $1. You can't beat wheat as an investment. And Brigham Young said the time will come that gold will hold no comparison in value to a bushel of wheat. And he was a prophet, and so that's good enough for me. He says that, and I believe it. It's a good investment, so buy it now. As great as these benefits are, your body may reject a sudden change to its diet. You will have, if you don't have already a high fiber diet, and all of a sudden you have to eat all these whole grains and all these fibrous foods, then you'll get bloating, gas, diarrhea. Not only will adding whole wheat to your diet now make you healthier, but it will also reduce future stress. Wanted to add that in a small percent of people, they have an intolerance to the gluten in the wheat, and so they get diarrhea and constipation, and they reject it. They can lose weight. So you probably know by now whether or not you are gluten intolerant, and so you will have adjusted your diet. And if you are gluten intolerant, I'm surprised you're here, but you probably have family members that are not. So that's what we had. You can't beat wheat in recommendations. The Lord, wheat is for man, and all grain is to be the staff of life. The Lord's messengers, like Ezra Taft Benson, he's one of his quotes. From the standpoint of food production, storage, handling, and the Lord's counsel, wheat should have high priority. And the USDA C study, so you can't eat wheat for recommendations. Let's go on to the promises. You can't eat wheat for access to wisdom, energy, and a long life. Okay, it's part of the word of wisdom, but whole grains, we need to get the whole blessing of the word of wisdom, we need to be eating them a lot. And it says in the word of wisdom, if we apply all of the Lord's counsel for healthy living, we'll find wisdom and great treasures of knowledge. We'll run it, that means we'll be smart. We'll be more receptive to light and truth and inspiration. We'll run and not be weary and walk and not faint. And we'll be protected from the destroying angel. And today, it just occurred to me like an hour before I came here, and I thought, well, maybe it's occurring because I need to share it. Now, this is just the Old Testament Daniel, and he was a captive, and he was kept in the king's court because he and his friends were so smart. And then the king was going to impose his eating plan upon him. But Daniel had learned this higher word of wisdom, where he was to eat all these whole grain kind of foods and not drink wine, not eat meat. And he had made a commitment to that. And so he had to really stand up for himself when the king said, no, you will eat my food. And they did the little scientific test where Daniel and his friends ate their word of wisdom foods, and the king's court and all his young men ate the rich foods. And it ended up that Daniel and his friends were healthier, they had more energy, and we all know that he was very inspired and able to accept light and truth, because he was the smartest, better than these others. So we don't have to live the word of wisdom, but if we do, we are promised these things. And, eating whole grains, and especially wheat, is part of the word of wisdom. God wants us, He tells us what's best for us, and I just need to share that because it came to me. For your information, wheat is an annual cereal plant. It's part of the grass family. It grows best in cool weather. That's why its sprouts continue to grow in the fridge. Wheat has the highest gluten of any grain. It's the only grain in which the gluten protein can be separated out, as in wheat meat. We'll talk about that later. And all that bran that they strip away from our white flour, it goes to the cows. There are two types of wheat, hard and soft. And actually there's more than two types of wheat, but you can put them in those two categories, because I found out there's like hard spring wheats, hard winter wheats, soft spring wheats, it's like 6 different categories, but basically hard and soft. Hard, soft, and that looks soft, doesn't it? Hard varieties are higher in protein and gluten content than the soft ones. They're superior for milling and baking. They're good for breads. They store for more than 30 years. The hardest wheat is durum, and it's used to make pasta. And when we are most familiar with the red and the white hard wheats, because that's what they sell, at all the people who sell wheat to us are selling them in red and white. The difference, because that's a question people often have, red has a nutty, hearty, robust flavor. It's most widely grown of all the wheats. It's preferred for artisan breads, and it's stickier, like when you cook it, it's stickier. And white wheat, it's dark. I don't know why that's there, but that should be over there. Developed from red wheat to exclude the bitter taste in its flour. It has a sweeter, milder flavor, and it's easier to digest. And the nutritional composition is the same for red and white, so you're not getting more nutrition with one or the other. Types of wheat. Okay, we did hard, now we do soft. Soft. It's lower in protein content. It's good for cakes, pastries, and flatbreads. You don't use it to make your yeast breads unless you blend it with some hard wheat flour. It has a higher moisture content, and so it only stores for, it stores for less time. They said 5+ years. Soft varieties of wheat are used to make cakes, pastries, and biscuits, etc. like the finer, more refined foods. Different species of wheat yield different tasting, acting wheat products. So here we have all our doughs lined up. Here's the Kamet wheat flour, I'll talk about that later. Baker's bread flour, that has a lot of the white wheat in it. The hard white wheat flour, so that's the whole grain, and the hard red wheat flour. And you can just see them all lined up. I made this look bigger, but it's probably not. It just, I had to slide it in. Okay. Here, these, well, I'll just read what this picture represents. Loaves made of whole grains from white wheat show a distinct color difference from that of red wheat and taste more like the traditional white red consumers prefer. So this one, and this one are white. These two are made out of, 50% flour, white flour, and 50% hard white wheat. And, well, anyway, I put this in here, this part, all this in here, it was someone's review of wheat. And he was a real connoisseur, and he likes the rustic red flavor of, the red nutty flavor of wheat. He won't eat white, and I just thought he was really funny, but I'm gonna go ahead. Where to buy our wheat? I checked these prices out this month. Bishop Storehouse, Home Storage Center, you can get, it's about 5.8 pounds, but I put 6 pounds, for $3.50 a can. Or at the home center, you can get two 25-pound bags, and they're like $11.45 each. So for 50 pounds, you get them for $22.90. Walton Feed, for a can of white, it's $5. Can of red, it's $4. And for a 50-pound bag of white, it's, well, anyways, you can see the prices. So it's a little bit down, but you do have to pay like 40 cents a pound for shipping.
No, it's 20.
20 cents, that's good. That's a good deal you got going. Emergency Essentials, $7.95 right now for either kind, and that's sort of steep. Okay, Honeywell, that's really steep, and yeah. But they at Honeywell, you don't have to pay for shipping, other than like $4.50 for whatever your order is. But they also have higher prices. But that's where you can get wheat. Common, I should say.
Oh, she's saying, yeah, but the prices aren't that much different if you drive. She says you can drive to Honeywell and pick up wheat.
It's whatever you want. It's your,
Right.
I mean, I'm just. And my grandpa used to live over there. Okay, now we're going to go into the section of common wheat-only products. Okay, these don't have other ingredients mixed in. And I put everything she wanted in there.
What did you do?
Dan, I pushed this button. So I'm going to,
There you go.
there, okay. Whole wheat berries. And Debbie wanted me to tell you that they're also known as seed, grain, wheat berries, wheat kernels.
Yeah. You guys,
Interchangeable.
there are companies that sell what they call wheat seed, which is just wheat. It's not any different, but they charge a whole lot more for it. So when you're looking at recipes, you will see recipes using all those different things. Know that they're all the same thing. And just buy them
they're
at the cheapest
alive.
place.
They're alive. Sprouts, the wheat you have is alive. They are seed for sure. If you add 3 cups to a cup of wheat and cook it, then you'll get some, you'll be able to cook it and it won't be dry and crumbly, which I discovered.
Mm-hmm.
Whole wheat pastry flour from the finest ground wheat kernels. Whole wheat flour produced from wheat kernel. That's what we make when we make our bread from scratch. Sift 3 times to make a lighter texture. Whole wheat pastry flour, that's actually darker in real life. It's flour made from wheat ground on the finest setting. That was the same. Okay, bran. It's the outer layer. It's where we get our fiber and our vitamins and minerals and our protein. It's a good part of the wheat plant. Bulgur, it's wheat's version of instant rice. So just think, ground up so it looks like cracked wheat, and then they cook it and dry it. Cracked wheat is not, you don't cook it and dry it, when you make it. So this, they've already done it.
Yeah,
so it
that's the
doesn't take
difference
that
between
long.
bulgur and cracked.
Yeah,
They're both cracked,
but one is,
but
hasn't been
bulgur
cooked
you
or
cook.
dried.
And I did last time I taught this class, I made my own bulgur. It is not worth the effort.
Okay. But I still put it on here, Debbie.
Yes, no, that's good.
Couscous, that was the one. Okay. To me, this is an exotic thing. I went to a Greek restaurant once and they served it, so I didn't think that as an American, I had to be aware of it, but it is a wheat product.
And it cooks really fast, so
And
it's
it
a good
cooks really
thing.
fast. It's traditionally served under a meat or vegetable stew. Okay, durum. That's where we make all our pastas from. It's the hardest wheat and it's the highest in protein. And it's used to make the semolina flour and it's formed into pastas. Germ flakes. I don't have the little picture of the little wheat kernel, but that's the little green part over there. And it's a wheat kernel that's flattened and toasted, and it has vitamins and minerals, and it's good for breads or breakfasts. Kamut. This is one I wanted to add. Kamut is a remarkable wheat grain that is an ancient relative of modern durum wheat. It is 2 to 3 times the size of common wheat. Okay, let me see. If you come up here later, this is the kamut grains, and they have like a little hump on them, and they're like twice as big, maybe even 3 times as big, just like it says. And my other can of flour is in the kitchen, so I will get it out so you can compare them. Anyway, you get more protein, it's higher in lipids, it has like 65% more amino acids, it has more vitamins and minerals, and you just substitute it for a common wheat, which is the red, the white, the modern wheats. It's been untouched by modern plant breeding programs. And 70% of those allergic to common wheat have no or minor reaction to the Kamut wheat brand. For many wheat-sensitive people, Kamut has become the wheat you can eat. And I'm not a doctor, it's still wheat, but I thought that was interesting. And the way they found it was World War II, there was a soldier, they went inside a tomb, I guess you could do that back then. They found, I guess, some pottery, broke into it, they got the wheat out, a handful of it, he gave it to his friend, the friend went to America, gave it to a farmer, and so it started, like it's a life of its own now. So we have this ancient wheat that has not been doctored, and sometimes they doctor our plants here in order to make them produce more and be more resistant to drought and to insects. But anyways, it's an option, and I have it. I bought it one time, and Debbie asked me, "What are you gonna do with all that kamut?" Yes.
I understand that a lot of wheat is being genetically modified now, GMO.
Yeah.
It's called, and somebody that I know is in the alternative health field said that so many people are having problems with wheat because of the genetic modification. So this is
That's why I bought it.
so good for that.
And to me, it tastes better. So, there's nothing lost in flavor, and it's white, but it's in the soft wheat variety, so it'll only last 5+ years. Yes.
Walton's has it.
Right. It has some of that, but I don't like it as much as this. Right. Did someone want to say something over here?
She asked where you could get it from.
Oh, Walton Feed. You can get kamut from Walton Feed. They sell it in buckets.
Is the
Yes.
price very different?
I think
Yes,
so.
it's a lot
I think
more.
so. It is more. It's not mass produced, so I don't remember how much it was, but I'm going to say at least twice as much. I'm thinking, isn't that about right?
2 or 3,
Because it's all organic.
2 or
you
3
know?
times more.
Yes.
That would be my guess.
Okay, you get with Debbie. Rolled wheat, whole grain that has been rolled like oatmeal and it stores 8 years. Wheatgrass, you can sprout and grow wheat kernels. The liquid made from juicing wheatgrass is packed full of antioxidants, and you could have a whole class on wheatgrass and how wonderful it is. It's like a tonic. It makes all your body systems perform better. It's used internally and externally. And I mean, there's too much. I'm not going to spend time there, but if you learn how to do it, it's very medicinal and you will feel very energetic and you'll be working right in no time. Wheat meat, aka wheat gluten. It's made by washing wheat flour dough with water until all the starch dissolves. It is boiled or baked for a meat substitute. And I've heard that it's not, you take so much time doing it, it might not be worth the energy. But anyway, cooking demos. My sons, where are you? Sam. Okay. Do you want Aiden to go first, Sam?
I'll go first.
Okay. My son Sam. He prepared last night. He got all his dough made for it. He packaged up the oil in just the right amount. And then he forgot everything in the fridge. But at our house, we keep stuff, ingredients in cans, so it's all organized there and the kids can make it, which is my #1 tip. Organize it. Let's see. You organize your stuff in cans. You measure out the ingredients. Put the recipe on the bag. And say, I would like to have some wheat blender pancakes, or I would like to have some cracked wheat sausage, and they can do it because they can read and they're real smart. So here is my son. And do you have your papers with you?
I have them,
Okay, do you want me to?
You, Naomi, give him the
Yes.
mic. Oh, you're talking. I forgot.
Give him the mic?
No, you're going to be doing the talking, right?
Okay.
Is that what you told me? If he's
I
talking, he needs the
can.
mic.
I can. Okay, Samuel, can you show us what you're going to do? Do you need this? He's going to right now pulse 2 cups of, he's going to make cracked wheat, which is the first step in making cracked wheat sausage. So can you show me how to do that?
I'll read this present.
Okay, can we turn this off? He wants to present it, but
Yeah, go ahead. Just give him the mic.
Right.
Hello.
Hello. Well, anyway, I've been worrying about having to talk, so I might as well do it. Well, hello. Today we're gonna basically show you how to make cracked wheat sausage. So using the wheat you would get in the cans, this is a recipe you can make. So first off, you're gonna have to make the cracked wheat. So how do you do that? Well, here we have some cracked wheat. Comes in the #10 can. And we have a Vitamix, a blender. So you're gonna put in some, I'd say like a half cup or a cup. You don't wanna put in too much, otherwise only the stuff on the bottom is gonna get stirred. So you wanna do it in pretty small portions at a time. You just kind of put it in there, and I'm gonna stir it on high.
So it's going to be noisy.
Yeah, this is pretty much a weed whacker. And what this is doing is it's basically breaking up all these pellets. So if they're this size at first, they're going to be breaking it up to this size down, and so from about this size to a powder. And what we actually want is we only want the bigger sizes. We don't really want the flour part of it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to filter that out. So we just got a average kitchen strainer. Kind of pour it in there. You stir it around. And you just look at it, and if you compare it to what you had at first, You want to make sure they're smaller and that they got broken down. And I might do this one more time, just for example's sake. Pretty good. Make sure you have the lid on, otherwise you're gonna have a big mess. Let's spray that one more time. And for this recipe, you'll be using mostly the cracked wheat. You want to save the flour part of it, because you'll also be using that. And you can just use that for other things, that any recipe that uses flour. But for this, it is cracked wheat sausage, so you mainly want the cracked wheat. Ta-da! Okay, now in the recipe, it'll show later on, it says you want 2 cups of cracked wheat. But that isn't this stuff, because actually you're going to cook this, and you're going to cook this with water, and it's basically going to double in size. However much water you give it, it's going to absorb. So you're going to go from pretty much something looking like this, kind of like sand, and it's going to pretty much turn into oatmeal. I mean, if you can see that, it's pretty thick and pasty. So in order to do that, you just get some water boiling, and then you let it simmer. You add in the cracked wheat, and then after 15 minutes, you take it off the stove, let it sit for another 10, and then it's ready to go after it cools down. So then once you have that, then you have the cracked wheat, you are ready for the recipe. So for the recipe, yeah. So first of all, you have 2 cups of cooked cracked wheat, and that is the 2 cups of the oatmeal stuff, so that would have been 1 cup of the original just wheats. And then an egg, and then 4 tablespoons of whole wheat flour. Where would I get that? Oh yeah, you would get it from this stuff right here. You just blend it. Ain't that convenient? So you don't have to throw that away. And then you have like a range of spices, such as a tablespoon of oil, some brown sugar, some stuff that adds some wheat flavor, like
All this stuff.
4 drops of liquid smoke. And all this stuff in green, that's in the smaller type, it's a good idea to kind of make it ahead of time and make it for the future. Because these are the main ingredients. This is just the extras. And as you can see, I mean, if this is the stuff you make, 2/3 of that list is just right here, and this is like the spices. So you can make this ahead of time. You can store it in these little baby bottles, depending on how long and how frequently you're thinking you're going to use it. You could either seal them shut, put them in the freezer, or something of the sort.
Or pimento jars, if you don't have babies or like baby food.
And this is actually a double recipe, so you mix that all together. You could just mix it with your hand. You're going to get this paste stuff again right here. And if you just smell it, especially like the liquid smoke you use, that really makes it look and smell like wheat. So you're just mixing it just like you would for cookies. And then now you're going to make the patties. So you just kind of roll them out, try to make them flat. This is actually a little sticky, but you would add flour if it was too sticky.
Do you want to?
My hands are sticky.
You have flour
Okay.
there.
How would you have followed?
Try and work.
It does look a little sticky. So all you have to do is add flour.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then right here I have a pan of just oil. This is pure vegetable oil. And you heat that to about 325 to 350. And then you make these, you kind of round them out first. Okay. Because you also want to flatten them out. The flatter the better. So first you kind of make the ball. Try to flatten it down. So kind of like shape. Not bad.
Well, okay, probably not sticking your finger in there, but
Anyway,
I would just use a spoon, plop it in there, smash it flat, like a tuna patty. A glorified tuna patty, without the glory.
and you're basically gonna cook that until probably be in there for a couple minutes on each side. until the sides turn brown, and to have a almost wheat patty from the can.
Okay.
And you can taste these afterwards. They turn out fine.
And he'd also cooked a whole big pot, stuck in our fridge of these, already pre-made. Forgot it. And now I need to find Aiden. Aiden, where are you? This is my other son. While he's over there, why don't you go wash your hands? Aiden will be showing us how to make blender wheat pancakes. In case you don't have a grinder, was it plugged in?
Is it not working?
Did you want me to,
Right here?
do you want to tell them what to do?
Yeah, well, this obviously needs power if we want to make pancakes. I can tell them what to do. How do you turn this on?
Oh, is it not on? Just plug it. Just plug it straight into the cord. Then the cord's plugged in.
Okay.
Is that not working? Maybe the cord's not working.
It might be that it has power, but Aiden was driving and there was a wild turn and a whole basket crashes and you just broke something, so it might have been this.
Should I tell them how to make it?
Yeah. Well, he's making blender wheat pancakes in 5 minutes or less. Blender pancakes and waffles. Okay. How'd you make blender wheat pancakes? Those are the ingredients he's using. Aiden, do you want me to walk you through it?
I know how to do it. Sure though, you can help me. I can just do
Okay,
that.
why don't you go over there and blend it with
Okay.
the water? Take the water with you.
I'm gonna need the oil too. Okay, well the first thing you do to make, we're making pancakes. You said that, right?
Right.
First thing you do is you mix together all the liquids plus the wheat inside of the blender. So that's gonna be 4 tablespoons of oil inside of this jar. So there's the 4 tablespoons of oil. We need 2.5 cups of water. And 2 cups of this is organic cabbage wheat. So 2 cups of wheat though. That is very important. And it's gonna be loud. So who was it? And you wanna blend this, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You want to blend it on a very high speed for about a minute on this blender, or 4 or 5 if you have a weaker blender.
You want to tell them what happened the first time you did it? For 4 or 5 minutes using that blender?
Yeah, well, the first time I did it, because on the recipe we were using it said 4 or 5 minutes.
And it does say that.
I
But it's not for Vitamixes. Or probably not for Blendtex either.
So what happened?
got really, really thick. Really thick.
Loopy, stringy, thick, and you need a mountain in the pot. You just want to blend it until it becomes smooth. That's it. Other than that, it's going to turn into butter or something. I don't know what happens. It forms the gluten. Okay, does that mean we blend some more?
I thought it did. Go for it. And after you mix all the liquids with the wheat and it's all blended, you could then add in the other dry ingredients. You want to read them, the dry ingredients?
Yes. Well, they're up here. You can just see them. They're all mixed together in a bag. Like I said, this can hold 3 recipes. So keep your, it has the wheat, the other ingredients, and the oil. It'll hold 3 of these recipes, and the mice won't eat them.
The first time we tried doing the whole thing in the blender and putting these extra dry ingredients, it eventually got so thick. That's a pretty heavy-duty blender, but it started smoking.
Oh, that's right. It got so
It
hot
gets too thick to blender.
that the engine of the motor, or the motor, shut down, and we could not use it again until it cooled off. So you really only want it to, you just want it to get it smooth. It depends on your blender.
Are you trying to make more than one recipe when that happens, or how does it like that?
No, just this recipe. Just
We added the extra dry ingredients, but it got just so thick, the blender. is
So they
too
put the
thick.
powdered milk and the eggs and the baking powder and the salt and the sugar
Actually
in there
not.
all at the same time?
We did the powdered milk and then the top 3 ingredients. But we did it 4 or 5 minutes. I'm just telling you, word to the wise.
The very first time we tried to do the whole thing, never taking it out of the blender, just the whole thing from start to stop in the blender, and eventually it got too thick. So we decided to do the first part in the blender, and then take it out and finish it.
And I think you guys all know how to make pancakes from here on out. So he's going to be over here cooking them up. Just lightly oil your pan. It's on 300 degrees. And
Is it working now?
Yes, it's working.
it's working. So he'll be over here. So let's go ahead. And also on your recipe, it shows you, if you don't have the powdered eggs and powdered milk, no big deal. Just substitute in the, just do what this says. And you can still use your wheat kernels. So let's see what's next on the list. No grinder, no problem, blender, wheat, pancakes. And I'm going to need the, whoever has the microphone.
Okay.
All right, we'll zip through. Thank you. Okay. There's a couple more. Okay, I don't know what I did. There's a couple more recipes for on here, Dan.
Move it around the back.
Move it away from your, oh, it might just be that it's too close to your necklace.
Okay, well, it was on my necklace at the
I
beginning.
know, that's true.
Dan, would you mind putting this here? Okay. That's annoying.
Okay, you're good.
Thank you. Okay, steamed wheat. This is like the most primitive recipe of all. All you need, it involves no other ingredients. It's going to be on the back table. Anyone who says they can't afford food storage, just replace steamed wheat, which is much healthier with your Lucky Charms, whatever, and all of a sudden you have so much money. But it's primitive, but it's also nutritious. This is the way Daniel, the prophet, ate. Okay, it's all, anyways. What can we make with steamed wheat? Because we're going to make some, and then you can make blender wheat pancakes using the cooked wheat instead of, because some people, maybe they don't want to ruin their blender blades. So, or maybe they have a wheat blender and it just can't handle making it into flour. So you can just mush it, you can just cook it to a mush and then use it for pancakes. On the table, we're going to have the pancakes, but we're also going to have the primitive, little wheat cereal, a delicious salad made with wheat berries, and then also what he's making, the cracked wheat sausage, which is not made with steamed wheat, and I don't know why I put it there, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to cook wheat berries with a thermos. This is my favorite way to cook thermos wheat. So my thermos has got oh, by the way, well, I'll show you this a little bit later. Let's consider thermoses. You don't want to get a thermos that has a narrow spout because it's harder to clean, it's hard to get the wheat out of. This is a non-example of the kind of thermos that you would want. There are huge ones available. I like them because I can stick my hand down in them. You know, it's easy cleaning. Or you can get a brush. Let's see. Well, anyway, you can get a brush to clean them out. Either really long, really tall. And this is the way I make my thermos meat. Okay, Sam, that pot you promised me, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay,
You need a bowl or a pot?
well, I'm going to demonstrate. I'm going to use this pot, and we're all going to be grown-ups, okay? Just pretend that this does not exist in the pot. Okay, how to make it. I'm going to have to come over here. I'm going to make a huge...
You can move back over there.
I think I will. You know what? No, you can't do that either because you used that one. All right. Pretend you're at your home and you're going to make thermos wheat. You get, this is the sink, okay? The sink, and this is the faucet, and here's your sink, okay? Here's my kitchen. You pour hot water into your thermos, all the way to where, I don't know how to say it, where the lid would, I know how it looks, but you know what I mean.
Below where the lid
right
screws
here.
in. Okay.
All right, then you pour it, this thermos full of hot water into your pot,
Into your clean pot.
your clean pot, whoa. And you put that on your burner and you boil it for 15 minutes. And it could be less, but I do 15 minutes.
Does it have wheat in it?
Oh, wait. No, you have to put your 3 cups of wheat. This is a large thermos. It's 8.5 cups. This holds 8.5 cups, and the ratio is 3 to 1, the way I like it, but it still has a little bit of water that comes out. So I'm going to put a scant 3 cups of wheat, or it's going to be what is this? White wheat into my pot. Okay, this is going to be such a mess because it has that other stuff in there. This is, okay, a little scant.
It's just going to be creamy.
Okay, so this has boiled for 15 minutes, and in the meantime, I had put some more, fill this all the way up to the top with steaming hot water, because I want it to be a hot thermos by the time my boiling water goes into it. So I warmed it up with some more hot water, put the lid on it. Now this is ready, it's 15 minutes later, so I dump out my hot water, and then I pour all of this back into here. I'm not going to do it because it's like a lot to glue. Can you pretend? Imagine? I know. Imagine that I poured it in here and then you quickly put on the lid. Where did I put it? Okay,
Here.
you quickly put on the lid. Do you see where it went? Okay, thank you. You have very good observation skills. Okay, and it sits here. It can sit there overnight, 6 to 8 hours. Is that what it says? So it has boiling hot, and these thermoses can keep it hot like for 24 hours. And there was like a lady on the internet, she was making recipes, and she's saying, oh, you can just boil it for 15 minutes and leave in the pot overnight. And that makes me nervous because, you know, what about bacterial growth? You want it to be 160 degrees or above when you take it out of here, you know, so it's not growing anything. And then you're 6 or 8 hours later, I put this in at 9:15. Your wheat berries are going to be done. And that was my sink. And this is what you're going to have over there on the table. These are made from white hard wheat. And this is very easy to freeze. Yeah, it's hot. You see the steam coming up? So, I also have, these are larger thermoses, they're actually called thermal cookers, but where these might cost, what,
20 bucks.
40 bucks? The larger one cost, it cost my husband $29.95, but that was a special deal. Okay. These are frozen, and they're hot, because I put them in my thermal cooker. And I'm gonna add them here, they'll be side by side, and then you can make yourself a little bit of cereal to replace the Lucky Charms, and you can eat like King David, or wait, our prophet Daniel. So I'd like someone to take these beautiful wheat berries, you serve them with sugar and with cranberries, and they're very healthy. And how are we doing on time, Debbie? Because I can,
You got 7 minutes.
okay, 7 minutes, all right.
How come this is different colors?
Because they start off with red wheat, and then to read out the bitterness, it somehow turned white.
Did you do
One
two
is-
different types of wheat?
Oh, the
why
reason
does this have
oh,
different
that's
colors?
what the question is, yes, because one is made with red wheat kernels, and one is made with white wheat kernels. Thank you, Dan. Debbie wanted me to go over other methods besides thermoses of cooking wheat berries. You could do the direct method. She has all this information in her
In your
on her
handout.
website and in her handouts. I tried it with the slow cooker, and I think I might have put it on high for. I mean, it's supposed to be on low, and that's why. And it sort of like shrunk down. There was like a black rim all the way around. It was burnt. Ugh. It was a bad experience for me, but I think it's because I did not cook it on low. I cooked it on high. You can also cook it in your microwave. It takes like an hour and 10 minutes. Pressure cooker, that's a really quick way to do it. You put the lid on it, cook it for 40 minutes. Direct heat, and there's lots of different ways to do direct heat. You can, you bring it to a boil or simmer it for 3 to 6 hours. Or if you just want to boil it, like just so that the temperature's 180 degrees or above, then it can be done in 2 hours. As long as you have the heat high enough. But then you'd have to be stirring. I would rather be the lazy one and do the thermos heat. Okay, or you can soak it 12 hours and then bring it to a boil. But always for me, the ratio that has worked is 1 to 3, and with half a teaspoon of salt. If you don't add the salt, they will be flat, and they're just not flavorful. They will triple in size if you put in 3 cups of water per 1 cup of wheat. Other thermal cooker methods for cooking wheat. You guys have seen these, I think. This is-
Wonderbox.
You know about Debbie. You would boil it up for 15 minutes, and you quickly put it in your Wonder Box and put the pillow in it, put the lid on, and then wait for 6 to 8 hours. It's basically a huge thermos. Here's the jar method. You boil the jar with wheat in water in a water bath for 15 minutes, and then you wrap it in towels or blankets or newspapers until it's not warm anymore. And then, or sooner, if it's done. This is what I have right here. This is a Shuttle Chef. It's a thermal cooker. You boil the wheat in here for 15 minutes. You stick it inside of here, and then you wait for 6 to 8 hours. And I didn't put the instructions there, but if you have a yogurt maker or a double boiler, Debbie has recipes that you can use to make your wheat berries. Okay, they freeze well, so make them now, and then you just stick a bag inside of the microwave for, I put them in for 3 minutes, but that was too long because the top melted. So probably you want to dump them out into something to do that. So make a big batch. And this I could eat every day. And I have provided a sample. I'm not going to show you a demonstration. I have the recipe for it on your recipe sheet out there. Wheat berry salad with tart dried cherries and walnuts. Wow, it's really good, and I want everyone to try it. It's, you know, if you want a super exciting way to use your wheat berries, then try this recipe. And like I said, the recipe is perfect. The only thing I changed, because I'm a little bit lazier and don't want it to be stored in a pot, is how I cooked my wheat berries. You know, I would just prefer to make my wheat berries in a thermos and use that, and that to add all the other ingredients to, rather than have to cook it her way. Let's see. Okay, wheat sprouts. They're edible in 2 or 3 days. It is so good to know that if you had nothing else, you could still get the nutrition out of your wheat berries by sprouting them. You know, you can't eat them hard because that will break all your teeth out and might really cause some difficulty. But the sprouts are easily digested and they're edible in 2 or 3 days. Some people grow them longer because they don't add vitamins until they turn green. Whoops. So let's see. They're good for you. They have cell-restoring properties. They add a nutty flavor and chewy texture to food. You can use them in salads and soups and other things. This shows the added nutrition. Look at this. All these B vitamins, the ones that make your brain so smart. You know, they just increase in huge amounts. Look at these. Vitamin C, 300%. So you can get all your vitamins. They're like a multivitamin by sprouting them. There's different methods. This is, I mean, you can buy all these fancy things, but we're very resourceful and we don't want to break our home's bank. And so we just use quart-sized jars or pint-sized jars. What you need to do is, I don't have the inside lid of this. You just use that as a template. You get some plastic mesh or wire mesh. You use the lid that was already there as a template, and you cut it out, stick it over here, and you, so that's ready. You pour in your wheat berries, you flood them for like 12 hours, so overnight. And then you dump all the water out. And then you rinse them, and then you don't flood them at all after that, other than to just every maybe 4 to 6 hours, maybe 8 hours, maybe 3 times a day. I do it about 3 times a day. You can you can fill this up, and then dump it all out, and it's just to keep them from drying out for about 2 or 3 days, and then they become edible. I'll have samples out in the back, and let's move on. Did anyone have any questions? Because yes.
You said all the vitamins that you were showing us don't get in there until they turn green.
Well, that's what I read.
See, and that is not what
So,
I've
These
read.
are more digestible, but until they turn green, that's what I read. That's what I read. They might not have known what they're talking about, but I read that. So, and I do have the green ones here, and they do taste grassy.
How long does that take?
About 5 or 6 days, is that what it says right there?
6 days.
Yes.
Yeah. But they're edible in 2 or 3, and the genius is that they're digestible. I mean, they're so easily digested compared to even uncooked wheat, and they have enzymes and amino. But they don't get all those huge growth in vitamins until they turn green. Just so when the sprouts start turning green, that's when they start adding the vitamins.
Okay, sorry, I'm
in
going to
huge
disagree
amounts.
with you. So the information that, all the stuff that I've read is that as soon as they get that little white dot, just barely get that little root, is when all those vitamins now become
And I
available.
read that
They do get the
too.
chlorophyll when they turn green, which adds another element. And something else which is interesting is some of the research that are showing that people that have gluten intolerances, if you sprout it just till it gets a little white thing on it, and then use that for your bread, or you can dry it and grind it, or you can just use it in sprouted bread, that it can make it so you're not gluten intolerant. In fact, I have the story in the handout, a lady that said she has a child that always has problems with digestion, and if he eats sprouted bread, she actually makes sprouted brownies for him. He just has to eat it once a week, and then he can eat anything he wants the rest of the week without any problems. So there's something about the way that it breaks down and the enzymes that are created when it does the sprouting that helps with that.
Right. Okay, so we have
Two different-
I think
yeah.
it's
So
more
research.
nutritious- It is more nutritious sprouted. but the longer it sprouts, the more nutrition as far as B vitamins. Because if you think about it, your green leafy vegetables are what give you the B vitamins. And so when you see those huge growths in the B, that I showed you in the chart up above, whoop, that's it turning green. I mean, this is just the study
Okay.
I read. I mean,
Okay.
not that it's not, it's wonderful either way. But if you want the B for the brain vitamins, let it get a little bit greener. I did it again. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and
Okay,
but I have this slide and then I'm done.
okay.
Okay, I made this bread. I'm not going to demonstrate it. This is called wheat sprout bread, and Chef Tess Bakeress online is who showed me how to make it. It was quite the drama. I put my wheat sprouts through this mill, and I don't know if this is defective or whatever, but the back of it was just dripping all this juice. It was coming from the sprouts, and so I had a clean floor, and I just put a towel there, and it collected the drips, which I wrung out into the recipe. I'm just telling you because you might not want to eat it after this. And then after I made it, I know it's just really chewy. It's wow in flavor, but it's really chewy. Like I took one bite, you'll see. But like for 10 minutes after that, I'm like, trying to pick my teeth, trying to get all the sprouts out of it. And so that's what you're going into when you try beets. And so let's go to the last one. To be able to think well and live well and love well, we need to dine well. Dining well means eating good, nourishing foods like wheat. And no matter what adversities lie ahead for us, like financial setbacks or natural disasters or serious war or a pandemic, we can at least know we'll dine well and be able to function well if we have wheat as part of our home storage. It will take excellent care of our nourishment needs, so dine well and enjoy using these recipes to eat the wheat you are storing. And thank you for inviting me. I have fun.